Hey Orange Avenue, welcome back to our Wednesday night Bible studies. We missed you last week, but
Finally,
I think I was just
back.
gone.
Yeah.
I was gone. So that is my fault. Scott would have recorded
All by myself.
if I would have been here. So I'll take full blame for that. But we're going to hop right into kind of a new study, and we're going to be with kind of going hand in hand with our Sunday morning stuff. And Scott, where are we going to be today?
We're in Luke chapter 14, verses 25 through 35. If you want to go ahead and start turning there. We have a few questions before we get into the scripture.
Yeah. As usual, and this is kind of a way we should just start every day, I guess, is what is going on good in your life? What are you thankful for?
Man. All right. So there's always a bunch of things to be thankful for, but I can't remember how many times I've used this. Just having our little group that we hang out with in the morning, hang out. We work out, but we talk a lot and hang out. It's just
Let's see the results.
It's getting impressive. Yeah. But it's just fun to have a group to as early as it is to wake up with and to study and talk and just greet the world. And I don't know, it just feels nice to have people who love to be fit and to talk about Jesus together.
Yep. It's an awesome thing. I'm also thankful for that, but I won't just steal it. This past Monday, I was just so thankful for that whole evening, really. And, our family goes over to Sonny's every Monday. Kids eat free. And so that's why we hang out there. But also we hang out there because we get to pray with the waiters and waitresses. They're very open to it. And this past Monday was just so awesome because when we got there, Jack and Cheryl Cole were there. And so we got to talk with them and our waiter. We introduced, the week before we sent him over to talk to them. And then Bill and Drew Baker showed up. And then just some other people that we had met in the community showed up. And our waiter asked us, "Hey, can I pray with you guys again?" And it was just an awesome.
It's like he was looking forward to seeing you guys.
I went home last week and I told my wife about how excited I was that one of our customers prayed with us. I was like, all right. It's good to see some excitement about some of that. And
that is really cool.
I'm real thankful for that experience. I kind of been riding on that for a few days here.
Yeah, you were telling me about that, and I was kind of jealous I wasn't there for the barbecue, but for all the interaction you got to have, it's really neat.
Maybe this next Monday. Well, man, why don't we hop right in? And I don't know who's supposed to read and who's supposed to retell, but if you want to go ahead and read.
I'll read this time, because I think you read 40 verses last time. It's been a couple weeks. All right, so we're in Luke chapter 14, starting verse 25. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying that person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he's able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's neither fit for the soil nor for the manure pile, and it is thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear."
All right. I'll try to do this quickly. But basically, Jesus at this point of ministry has got a large crowd that is coming after him. He's real popular. And in true Jesus form, he wants to make sure that those who are following him are really serious about it. Back when he fed the 5,000, he did the same thing, right after that. But we see it again where he's got these great crowds, and then he starts to give these hard teachings. The first one being, you got to hate your family and even yourself if you're going to be a follower of mine. And what we understand from that is that Jesus is above everything. If you're going to have to make a decision, Jesus has to be top priority every single time, even over family. And then he starts talking about this whole section is really about the cost of being a disciple. And I'll just try to explain it without giving any commentary because I just want to preach it.
Good luck.
But basically he's saying, look, in other things in this world, like building a tower or going to war, you would be a fool to go into those things without knowing how much it would cost you. With the tower, specifically with money, like if you were to start building a tower and then you realize you didn't have enough money to finish it, people are going to laugh at you. And we actually saw that happen in Orlando with the tower that's still not built, and it was starting when I was in college.
It's been a couple years.
And I laugh at them all the time. And then the second thing with the war, just knowing like, can your side go up against the other side? And you want to count the cost of that so that you going in, you know if you can win or lose. And there's no difference in being a disciple. If you're going to follow after Jesus, what he's saying is, that last, verse 33 is that you've got to renounce everything, that he becomes most important.
All right, that's a pretty good summary. You didn't preach it a whole lot either.
It was a temptation.
All right, so what do we learn about God here? I know there's different sections you can pick from.
Yeah, I'm going to take the easy one, of course.
The hating your family one?
No. That's the one I'm going to avoid. What I learned about God is he requires everything. And I'm just going to leave it right there. I don't think I need to really explain that too much more, but God wants and requires all of us, like every part of our lives.
All right, I'm impressed. That was nice. Very succinct. What I was thinking of was like with the tower, to me, that's a big thing to build, just to even start a project like that. Mm-hmm. But also with the war, like that's far bigger than something I can do. It's like with little things and with the really, really big insurmountable things. Like God wants you to count the cost before you step into action.
Yep. So my context would be like, before you start cooking something, make sure you have all the ingredients.
Yeah.
Like,
I always have to ask Google a minute, how do I substitute this? Yeah, so that's definitely a good parallel to make. I don't know. That seems simple again.
Yeah.
We can just kind of leave that there. But yeah, count the cost before you start a project.
Yep.
And then what do we learn about people?
That we're foolish sometimes. You know, they're so, I mean, how often do people get into situations where we haven't really, like we didn't know in advance what it was going to take. And, you know, having worked with young married couples and stuff like that, that's something I hear all the time is, well, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. Or I didn't know, well, first we should have done premarital counseling before.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We could tell you that. But you know, people get into really important situations and don't even think about what the cost is going to be. Like we just assume everything is just going to be perfect, and you know, like you see in the movies and that kind of stuff. And sadly, we do that with faith. Like I honestly, I look back and think about when I decided to be baptized into Christ in '97. I'm not sure I really counted the cost, and I don't think that's invalid necessarily. But it took me a few years to realize it's not supposed to be as comfortable as I am right now. Like if I'm doing this right, it's going to cost me something. Like faith in Jesus, following after him, especially like in Matthew 10, as he sent out those apostles, he told them it was going to be a struggle. And, you know, as we seek to create more disciples of Jesus, I think that's something we got to really focus on.
Yeah. And I think another side of that, like this might be a further answer to that question, but like some people spend all of their time counting the cost but never actually committing.
That's true.
Which is another horrible side of this project. When I was baptized when I was 10, I certainly didn't understand all of the cost. Mm-hmm. But I knew that like I understood Jesus was king, like he is the Son of God, he died for my sins, and so I went all in on that. I banked on that information. But I feel like some people are continually counting the cost and they say, well, I don't know enough, I don't really understand the cost, how can I count it if I don't understand it? And so they just continually hover over that decision without actually committing. Yep. And just a dangerous place to stay.
Yep. So we should count the cost, but we shouldn't count
over.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know how to say that better, but you can't spend all your time counting and never acting. There's action in faith.
Yep.
All right. How will we put this passage into practice? Maybe I just answered that.
I think we kind of both hit on it a little bit, but to put this into practice for me, it'll come in the way I teach also, but also in the way I live. I really need to sit and understand, you know, what has faith cost me, and if it hasn't cost me anything, maybe I need to dive a little bit deeper into this. But I think it will change a lot more how I teach, as we meet people who want to study about, being baptized and making that decision to follow Jesus, I think we need to take that approach that Jesus did in making sure people absolutely know what is required. And it's not just to get baptized and then go live your life kind of thing. It's you are committing to following after Jesus.
With all that entails.
And if we're following, what was his end result of ministry?
Along with his followers, right. They ended the same way a lot of times.
He did 3 years of good work, not good work, but of ministry, purposeful ministry with his apostles, and that was it for him. And I hope that's not the case for what we're being called to. But like you said, with all the other apostles, or at least 11 of them, Judas, we won't count him. But the end result, historically, what we get is martyrdom. They were killed for their faith, and willingly so. That's counting the cost. And I'm sitting over here thinking, well, can I give up Netflix for my faith? And I think we have just watered this down so much. So I got to really figure out. I think there's probably stuff in my life I can pay the price with.
Yeah, for most of the people watching this might be a parallel that doesn't fit your situation. Whenever I went to college, I had no idea what the actual worth of money was or what the price of a college education was. And so when I got out, I had thousands in debt. And I was wow, I didn't sign up for this, but I did. It's I literally didn't count the costs. I knew it's going to cost 20-something thousand a year, and over the time it's going to build up. But I didn't realize that I actually had to pay that at the I don't know how I missed that memo, but I might have pursued other options had I realized what the actual cost was.
They should put that on a gate to go into the college.
Yeah, you're signing your life away.
Right.
Thankfully I don't have that debt now, and I'm glad to be done with it. But for years we toiled to make sure we paid that off.
Yeah.
So, and something else I was going to tie that into is with our faith, and you mentioned the idea of well, why doesn't it feel like I'm paying anything? Why isn't there a cost? Mm-hmm. Why do I feel so comfortable? Why am I not conflicted about what's going on in the world around me? And if you're asking those questions, then you might need to reevaluate what's going on in your mind and in the world around you. Because there's things right now that should be breaking your heart, things that should be filling you with joy. Both those things are happening simultaneously. But I think it's important we need to be looking at the world around us and seeing how we can give more into it, how God's been pouring into us. Because God counted the cost sending Jesus to the earth. The cost was his son.
Yeah.
But he got something in reward. He got you and I and so many others. I don't know. It's important for God counted the cost. I think we should follow his footsteps in that.
For sure. That's an awesome perspective on that. The last question there.
It's always fun.
It's always fun, but it's your question, and ours as well. We're not immune or exempt from this. Who do you know who needs to hear this? And I do want to tell you also that it is all of our jobs to go and tell people the gospel. But this passage, the passages we're going to cover the next few weeks are ones that we're also covering on Sunday mornings as we kind of put forth the vision for where Orange Avenue goes from here. So part of this goes in with that really simple vision of being fully committed to Jesus and making him known. And so if you want to be able to follow along as well, come join us on Sunday, invite a friend with you on Sunday. If you can't do that, make sure you watch services on Sunday and share it with somebody else, because this is the same stuff that we're talking about.
All right. Well, thank y'all for joining us tonight. It has been fun. I kind of missed doing this with Kenny, so it's good to be back in the rhythm.
That's right.
And hopefully y'all are blessed by what you heard, but you'll be more blessed whenever you go through it yourselves.
Yep.
So,
should we pray real quick?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Our Father in heaven, we just thank you for letting us have another day to study your word. And I pray, God, that we are just fully submitted to its authority. God, that we're going to be people who obey what we read. And I'm just so thankful that I get to study this with Scott. And I pray that for everybody who's listening and or watching, that this passage here in Luke chapter 14 is one that can actually change our lives, that we're surrendered over to it, that we count the cost. And God, for those of us who have been claiming to be followers for so long, maybe it's a reevaluation, maybe it's like rededication or whatever it could be. And those who are listening who have not yet, I just pray that you assure them that the cost is well worth I mean, the reward is well worth any cost that there is. It is so good to be your children. We love you, God, and we just pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, love you, Orange Avenue.
Have a good rest of the week.